here.
Good morning, Kathy.
Morning.
Mr. Adams. I'd like to say that, first of all, I appreciate your coverage of the Soviet newscast. And as I was wondering if Mr. Adams might have any information on the current whereabouts and disposition of a couple of specific commanders in the Soviet military that one of your earlier guests, Mr. Seif, mentioned could be a threat. And that's
I could.
That's Colonel Alex Smith, number one, not
Right.
so much Makashov, General Makashov,
Right.
General Gromov,
Right.
and the little country Chechen English.
Mm-hmm.
And who's running that?
A man by the name of General Dudayev.
And who are some of his commanders? And what
Sure.
kind of authority does he have?
Well,
Viewer, before you hang up, how are you so familiar with all of these individuals?
Well, I've been trying to follow the the developments specifically in the military over there. I find it very interesting. I'm kind of afraid that we might be invited to some kind of military conflict over there to help stabilize the region at some point in the future. As a matter of fact, when you were having your call-ins on the New Hampshire primaries, I tried to get through, and I was going to suggest that possibly Mr. Bush could be president beyond 96 in such an event. If we had a national emergency, people might not want to change presidents in the middle of of an emergency. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for calling.
let me just go down the list of some of these folks. General Makashov, Albert Makashov, ran, by the way, in June against Boris Yeltsin for the Russian presidency. Garnered, I think, maybe 2% of the vote, 3% of the vote. He is no longer a figure of any consequence. He's practically unheard, practically not heard from at all. General Gromov, who was, by the way, the deputy for the Ministry of Internal Affairs during the time of the coup, was actually the deputy to one of the coup plotters, and was the commander of the forces in Afghanistan, also seems to have faded into the background, though he has made it clear that he opposes the Yeltsin policies. Colonel Alksnis, who was a Latvian, also was a supporter of the coup in August, is also not seen from. But certainly he stands in the background. He waits in the wings. He was what Edward Shevardnadze had referred to as one of the black colonels. Two other generals that you didn't mention that I think are also threats is a General Petroshenko and a General Rodionov, both who have publicly expressed their dissatisfaction with the Yeltsin policies. You mentioned the Chechen Ingush region. It is a region in the southern part of Russia at the border of the Caucasian republics. It is an area that is very unstable. They have demanded secession from Russia. It is, as you said, led by a Air Force general, General Dudayev, who has essentially faced Boris Yeltsin eye to eye and has told him that his republic is going to remain independent from Russia. Interestingly enough, he gave comfort to Zviad Gamsardia, who was the overthrown president of Georgia. Gamsardia fled Georgia after the Civil War that just ended about a month ago, and he has now found refuge in Chechen Ingush. One of the interesting things about Chechen Ingush is that there is a strong Islamic bloc in that region that is calling for a pan-Islamic government of some kind to somehow align itself with some of the Islamic movements in the Caucasian republics. But there's no question about it. These military leaders who represent the hard line, the communist hard line, do wait in the wings. Another interesting character is Alexander Rutskoy, who was Yeltsin's vice president, also a former general and a former highly decorated veteran of the Afghanistan war. Rutskoy called the Yeltsin policies, quote, economic genocide. And he's also called for the return of the Crimean Peninsula to Russia from Ukraine. It was granted to the Ukraine in 1954 by Nikita Khrushchev. Rutskoy is a person that many people feel, both in Russia and in the United States, observers in both countries feel, is a man who could replace Yeltsin if Yeltsin were to stumble and fall, and Rutskoy could get the support of the military as well as more conservative elements in the country. He's definitely a man to watch, and he's definitely a man with a tremendous following inside the military and within political movements.
As the caller mentioned, C-SPAN does air News One, which is the evening newscast from Moscow. You can